said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to. Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's a. That's terrible. Terrible.
Why are we here? No, not in a metaphorical sense or one questioning our existence in the universe, but why are we here wondering what will happen tonight in New Hampshire? Haven't the polls given us all the answers? Haven't they already told us who will be the winner? But wait. Didn't those same polls reveal exactly what happened in Iowa? And are they not always right and righteous? Let us begin there and seek answers to the question that has been asked for political ages since exit polls were taken by a lobbing of a rock at the head of the individual voter and then recording which dinosaur went to fetch it. The New Hampshire primary night version of the political animal that will strip fallacy from fact, if you will. He is the senior political contributor at Forbes magazine, also co-host of Steele and Unger, heard on Sirius XM POTUS 124, Rick Unger. He is the former man in charge of FEMA, who is now in charge weekday afternoons at 6:30 KHOW in Denver, Colorado, Michael Brown. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Brownie, I'll let you talk about the Broncos a little bit later on, so hang tight. I know you just want to gloat, but it's not a problem. Let's talk politics first. See, you had to get it in. I knew it, but it's all right. Go ahead. Be happy now. All right. Now, because you did that, you have to wait for a moment. I go to Rick Unger first. Rick, look, Iowa told us who was going to win. They got, no. They didn't get it right. Why should we believe that what they tell us now about New Hampshire is going to be exactly what will happen tonight?
Wait a minute. Are we just going to skip over that opening piece you played about what Trump said?
No. We're getting there. Wait, it's a forebear is what it is. It tells us about the future, Rick. Go ahead.
I don't know what it tells us, but I don't like it. No, of course, especially in a state like New Hampshire, anybody who believes in polls is out of their mind. New Hampshire is the state where anything can happen. Now, it does give us an indication. I think there's very few people who would bet against the fact that Mr. Trump will probably win tonight. The question is what will his voter toll be? What will the total be? And that is very telling. Where we may be very disappointed tonight is that we're not going to get much of a sense of second to fifth because they may all be very well bunched together. But the polls don't have the answers at this point.
Okay, so, Mike, what's the real issue here? Is it if Donald Trump wins by double digits or not and tells us about him, or who bunches up in second place, how many are there? Which one is more important?
I think they're both equally important because if Trump's numbers decline a little bit, if he shows any sort of weakness, I think that's what the pundits will jump on. Then if you look at the second, third, and fourth place, if they're all bunched up together and there's no clear second place winner, or somebody jumps from fourth to third or somebody jumps from fourth to second, oh my gosh, it's the Armageddon, and the pundits will go, bat feces crazy over that too.
Well,
so
it's not just
that's
the
what we get
pundits,
to watch.
Michael. It's a question of, do you push anybody out? If they bunch together in that second to fifth,
right, they don't push anybody out.
They're all going to go forward.
But
exactly.
Is
Which
this
means
really
we then
going
go
to
to
go
South
Mike,
Carolina where everything changes.
But that's my point. Does it really make a difference? Of course it makes a difference, but what happens in New Hampshire? People are saying, this sets the tone, this is going to be it, this is the delineating line. This is New Hampshire. No offense against the people in the Granite State, but we've got South Carolina, Texas. You've got, 54, 55 other primaries still to come at this point? I mean, don't we just have to back up a little bit here and say, even if Donald Trump wins big, even if Jeb Bush comes back, even if, for whatever reason, Marco Rubio takes a dive, Michael, we still have a long way to go. This is not the end of the line.
Berliner, Mr. Berliner, you're way too logical. You're way too reasonable. Come on, we've got to spin this up. We got to talk about this. We got to pretend like it's the end of the world if we don't figure out who comes in first, second, third, or fourth. You're right. We've got a long ways to go. We said the same thing about Iowa, last week?
But is it not fair to say, Mr. Unger, that when we talk about that second point, we have to look at Jeb Bush, if indeed he does have a rise, as people are talking about, if Marco Rubio does have a precipitous drop because of what he said. I think we're going to find that will tell us a tremendous amount about what will happen going forward, yes?
Well, first I wanted to say to my buddy Brownie over there that I don't think Berliner wants you and I to make a living. I don't know where he's going with all this. But listen, exactly.
I want common sense, man. I want some logic in this.
I am the guy who has gone on video and audio tape predicting that Jeb Bush is going to be the one to come in second. So, yeah, I think Anything that's a respectable showing for Bush tonight is a very big deal. I think people have been very premature saying that Jeb Bush is out of this, and we may just see why tonight.
All right, Mike, real quick, I got 20 seconds left here. Do you think that Marco Rubio really indeed shot himself in the foot, and this robotic moment of his is going to be telling, not only here in New Hampshire, but farther down the road?
I don't think he shot himself in the foot, but I think it does show that you can become too scripted. You can get the talking points way too memorized. And if you don't learn to be a little more freewheeling, a little more, look, you made your point, and I'll move on. He gave that opening to Chris Christie, and Chris Christie was just waiting for it.
We will talk about that and more. And, of course, Rick Unger is still waiting for the whole Donald Trump moment, which we'll get to. That'll come up right at the top. Michael Brown, Rick Unger, hang tight. We're right back after this on The Hardline. Let us continue to speak the truth, nothing but the truth, no matter how it may pain the competition to hear it out loud. Welcome back from 630 KHOW in Denver, Colorado, Michael Brown, and from Sirius XM POTUS 124, Rick Unger. All right, Rick, I know you've been salivating, waiting through the break for this. Let's go ahead and get to it. Donald Trump did not actually call Ted Cruz a certain vulgar word, but it was a supporter in the audience who said it. Trump then repeated it. But let's just look at it this way, Rick. It doesn't make a difference what Donald Trump says. The man could be completely naked and scream, and people would still love him. It's what sets him apart. They love this about him.
Yeah, it's, I'm coming to believe he might be right about America if this is the sort of thing Americans go for these days. Look, here's the one thing I haven't heard one person today who's talked about this on television, on radio. Nobody has pointed this out. I'm going to. There were children in that audience last night. Anybody who has ever been to a political rally, and I've been to more than I can count, and I know you guys have too, there are always children at a political rally.
Good
you
point.
can blame the media for running it without beeping it, and maybe kids might see it there. But you can only blame Trump for saying that when there were kids in the audience. I think he's disgusting. And I have never, ever been accused of being a prude. I'm accused of many things. Never that. It was absolutely disgusting, embarrassing, and anybody who could vote for somebody like that, I don't care what your politics are, then you ought to consider if maybe you're the reason America's not great anymore.
To you, Mr. Brown, go for it.
Holy cow. Gosh, Rick, I hate to say this, but you're right. I really hate to say that, but you are.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And I would go even so far as to say this, and I have no proof of this, but I often wondered, when I first heard it, I thought, was that a setup? Was that somebody in the audience planted to say that so that he could then play with it? Because after all, this is a guy that's accustomed to television. This is a guy who's accustomed to making sure that before those four people walk into The Apprentice, they've got that scripted. And so I wondered, is it? And I don't know which is worse, whether it's scripted, if that's bad, or if it was spontaneous.
You just brought up a great point here, because it's something that I have had conversations with friends of mine here, Mike, and that's that Donald Trump knows television. Donald Trump knows marketing. Donald Trump knows audiences. I have friends of mine who are hanging around different little events here and there, and they say, I wonder how many of these people who say things have been told to say these things. Now, I'm not making any charges here. I'm not saying that anybody has actually have any proof of this. But, Mike, would it surprise you at all if there weren't plants in the audience for Donald Trump? Not only Donald Trump, but any candidate for that matter.
Any candidate, Ed, because we know that anytime you're going to have a Q&A session, that you've got, if you're a smart campaign, you've got at least a half dozen or a dozen people there that will ask the questions that if they don't get asked by a real person, then a campaign staffer or a fill-in is going to ask the question. That's why Mr. Cynical here, when I heard that, thought, was that a plant or was that really extemporaneous?
Either way, it shows such a profound lack of judgment.
It's crass.
That it's just beyond my... I've let him pass on this a few times. He's used another profanity a few times over the past couple of days, and it wasn't that offensive. But this is so astounding to me that I don't know how anybody can go and cast a vote for somebody like this. And by the way, to cover for it today, I just watched him on television saying, well, I got very good grades at school, and my uncle is a professor at MIT, so I come from a very fine gene pool.
I'm only going to say one thing here.
What does that mean?
My sainted granny, God love this woman, and God rest her soul, one of the things that she always imprinted on me was, Edward, people will judge you by the way that you speak. And I will take that through to my grave. Let's talk about somebody else who had some words here. While he was introducing his wife, Hillary, the former president, Bill Clinton, claimed that he wished he had a different relationship with the candidate. Here's what he said.
The hotter this election gets, the more I wish I were just the former president and just for a few months, not the spouse of the next one. Because, I have to be careful what I say.
By the way, Rick, he quickly shot back as soon as I think he probably realized what he said. He said,
right.
I don't mean that in a negative way. Right. I am happy, quote unquote. Look, I mean, all credit, whatever you want to give to the former president. Rick, let's just look at it this way. Hillary Clinton's going to suffer a humiliating defeat in New Hampshire. It's something that the Clintons are not used to. And I don't think it's that she's going to lose that's going to tell us about Hillary Clinton. How she then reacts going forward, I think, is going to be the tell.
I think that's true. And I will give her some points on one thing. I think the way she's behaved, knowing that she was going to lose in going to New Hampshire and campaigning and being pretty upbeat, I thought that was pretty smart. She's going to have a brutal couple of days ahead of her. It's a long time till we get to Nevada and South Carolina. It's just going to be awful for her. But I think she set herself up reasonably well. As for Bill Clinton, yeah, it was not the best choice of words, but we know what he meant.
I got less than a minute left here. Mike, let me come to you. The hug. The picture that is going around the internet right now, Chris Christie meeting up with Hillary Clinton. This was at a taping of CNN's State of the Union. And people are saying, people are excoriating Christie for the fact that he looks like he is hugging Hillary Clinton. What do people want him to do, Mike? Spit on her?
This drives me absolutely crazy. My old boss, George W., was a hugger. He hugged everybody. He was just that kind of guy. And I see the same thing in Chris Christie. Look, folks, I know it's politics and it's a contact sport, but look, I'm not a Chris Christie fan, but for Pete's sake, back off. He's just being a human being.
I give you the final word for 15 seconds, Rick.
It's like people who think that people who play for a professional sports team absolutely hate anybody who plays for another team. I don't know why Americans have become so immature and stupid. I mean, Michael got it exactly right. He's a hugger. I don't support him either, but I understand that.
I guess I better not tell anybody then that as a hockey fan, I hate the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that's another story. He's a Bruins fan. I don't want to go there now. I'll get all kinds of letters now, but that's okay. I'm a Bruins fan. I'll stand by it. And there's Brownie going for the Broncos. There you go. Gentlemen, pleasure. We'll talk to you again real soon. Don't forget Rick Ungar on Sirius XM POTUS 124, Michael Brown, 630 KHOW in Denver, Colorado. Afternoon drive. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Talk to you soon. The Hardline continues.